Claire's hands trembled as she adjusted her son's tiny jacket. This wasn't how blind dates were supposed to go. She was already running late, her babysitter had cancelled last minute, and now she was walking into a fancy restaurant with a 6-year-old clutching her hand. When she spotted the man at the table, a sharp-suited CEO whose presence practically demanded attention, her stomach dropped. This was a mistake. "I'm so sorry," Claire blurted the moment she sat down. Her son slid into the seat beside her, shyly hugging his toy car. "I know this is unprofessional. My sitter cancelled. I didn't want to waste your time, so I brought him. If you want to leave, I understand." For a moment, silence hung in the air. Claire braced herself for disappointment, for the awkward excuse, for the pitying look she had seen too many times. But instead, the man smiled. Not a forced smile. A warm, genuine one. "Actually," he said, leaning toward the boy, "I brought my first toy car to dinner once too. It was red. What's yours?" Her son's eyes lit up, and Claire's breath caught. In that instant, the intimidating CEO wasn't a businessman, he was just a man with kindness in his eyes. The heaviness Claire had been carrying all day softened. Maybe this wasn't a disaster. Maybe this was the start of something she never expected. And for the first time in a long while, she allowed herself to hope. Claire watched in awe as her son, Ethan, animatedly explained the adventures of his little blue car to the man sitting across from them. She had expected impatience, maybe even irritation. Instead, the CEO, whose name was Daniel, listened as though Ethan were the most important person in the room. "Sounds like that car's been through a lot," Daniel chuckled. "Do you think it could survive a race around this whole restaurant?" Ethan giggled, and Claire's heart softened at the sound. She had worked 2 jobs just to keep that laugh alive, shielding her son from the constant weight of bills, missed rent, and exhaustion. Moments like these were rare. Claire cleared her throat, trying to pull the attention back. "I really am sorry. This isn't ideal. I didn't want you to think I wasn't taking this seriously." Daniel shook his head. "Claire, life doesn't wait for perfect timing. You showed up, that matters more than anything." The sincerity in his tone caught her off guard. She had grown used to being judged, too young, too broke, too distracted. But Daniel wasn't judging. He was seeing. Their food arrived, and to her surprise, Daniel ordered extra fries, for Ethan. He even made a silly face when Ethan offered him one, earning another laugh. Watching them, Claire felt an ache she hadn't let herself acknowledge. Not romance, not yet. But the ache of realizing how long it had been since someone had treated her little family as enough. As dessert came, Daniel leaned in and said softly, "You don't need to apologize for being a mother. That's the best part about you." Claire blinked back unexpected tears. For the first time in years, she didn't feel like a burden. She felt valued. Claire dabbed at the corner of her eyes with a napkin, embarrassed by her emotions. But Daniel didn't look away. His gaze was steady, kind, and strangely vulnerable. "You know," he said, leaning back slightly, "I understand more than you think." Claire tilted her head, skeptical. "Really? How could you?" Daniel's smile was gentle, but there was a shadow behind it. "I was raised by a single mom too. She worked 2 jobs, sometimes 3. I remember falling asleep at the diner booth while she refilled coffee cups at midnight." He paused, his voice softening. "Everything I have today, I owe to her sacrifices." Claire blinked, stunned. She hadn't expected a man like him, a CEO with expensive suits and a life of comfort, to have a story that mirrored hers. Ethan, busy munching on fries, looked up curiously. "So your mom was a superhero too?" Daniel laughed, a sound that was both light-hearted and aching. "The best kind of superhero." Something shifted inside Claire. This wasn't just a polite man being tolerant of her situation. He understood. He knew the exhaustion, the silent tears, the relentless willpower it took to keep moving forward when the world told you to give up. "I guess," Claire whispered, "you really do know." Daniel nodded. "And that's why I don't see your son as an interruption. I see him as the reason you're strong. And honestly, that makes this the best date I've ever had." For a moment, the noisy restaurant faded away. Claire's heart pounded, not with fear this time, but with a flicker of something she thought she'd lost, the possibility of being seen, not as a struggling mom, but as a whole woman with worth. Just as Claire began to relax, Ethan's toy car slipped from his hand and rolled under another table. Before she could stop him, he dashed after it, weaving between servers carrying trays. "Ethan!" Claire's voice caught in panic. A glass teetered on a tray, seconds from disaster. But Daniel was already on his feet. In one smooth motion, he intercepted Ethan, scooping him up before the tray toppled. The servers sighed in relief while Daniel crouched to Ethan's level, handing him back the car. "Careful, buddy," Daniel said gently. "Racetracks are tricky places. You don't want to crash." Ethan giggled, clutching the car to his chest. Claire exhaled, her cheeks burning with embarrassment. "I'm so sorry. He's usually careful." Daniel shook his head, smiling. "Don't apologize. He's just being a kid. Kids are supposed to run and play. If they don't, something's wrong." He said it so simply, as if it were obvious. Yet to Claire, who had spent years apologizing for every small disruption, the words felt revolutionary. Back at the table, Daniel distracted Ethan with napkin doodles while Claire watched in disbelief. This man, this CEO who could have been checking his phone or rushing out, was down on the table, drawing little racetracks just to make a 6-year-old laugh. For years, Claire had braced herself for rejection, prepared to be too much or not enough. But here was someone who didn't just tolerate her world, he embraced it. When Ethan finally yawned, Daniel caught Claire's eye. "Why don't we call it a night? I'd be happy to walk you both home." Her heart skipped. It wasn't just a date anymore. It felt like the beginning of something she had almost stopped believing in. The cool night air wrapped around them as they stepped out of the restaurant. Ethan's small hand was tucked safely in Claire's, while Daniel walked at her other side, adjusting his pace to match theirs. They strolled in comfortable silence until Ethan's voice broke through. "Daniel, do you like superheroes?" Daniel grinned. "Of course. My favorite is the kind who doesn't wear a cape, like moms who never give up." Claire's breath caught. She glanced at him, expecting a playful smile, but his expression was steady, sincere. No one had ever said that to her before. At her apartment building, Claire fumbled for words. "Thank you. For tonight. I know it wasn't the kind of evening you signed up for." Daniel looked at her, his eyes warm beneath the streetlight. "Claire, it was exactly the kind of evening I needed. Do you know how rare it is to meet someone real? Someone who doesn't pretend life is perfect?" Her cheeks flushed. She had spent so long feeling invisible, overlooked in her struggles. Yet here was a man who didn't just see her, he respected her strength. Ethan tugged her sleeve. "Mommy, can Daniel come again?" Claire laughed nervously, but Daniel crouched down. "I'd like that very much, buddy, if your mom says it's okay." Claire's heart swelled at the sight of her son's grin. She hesitated, then nodded softly. "It's more than okay." As Daniel stood, their eyes met, two people from different worlds, both shaped by resilience. And for the first time in years, Claire felt not just hope, but the certainty that kindness could change everything. It wasn't just a blind date anymore. It was the first step toward a future none of them had dared to imagine.